Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to this segment of the Premarital Masterclass. In this segment, we'll be talking about communication. Communication is the heart of all relationships. In its absence, relationships asphyxiate and die or become toxic and distorted. Marriage is a hugely transactional relationship, and communication is the channel for that transaction. When you are on this beautiful quest, searching for a spouse, or you found someone and you're making your journey together to get to the point of marriage, it's important to build good communication skills. When we say communication, what often comes to mind is speaking, talking, but we forget the other part. It's listening as well. It's not just talking, but it's an exchange of views and ideas. Communication is about expressing and showing what you think and what you feel, as well as receiving, paying attention, and observing. You need to know how to lay down your ideas, your views, your feelings, your opinions in front of that person in a way that the other person can easily receive it and pick it up. You can place a rock in someone's hand, or you can throw the rock at the person. The result of placing the rock will be very different from throwing the rock at the person. It's still you, it's still the same person, it's still a rock. This is what I call being able to practice candid but kind communication, where the things that are important are spoken about in a way that preserves the relationship. It's essential, therefore, to understand yourself and the other person, to have a high level of self-awareness and self-regulation, and also practice empathy, where you can stand in the shoes of the other, where you can sense the needs, the motivation, the feelings, the emotions of the other person, where you are ready to see an issue from their point of view, even if you disagree. It's important to maintain the ultimate aim of Islam, which we talked about in another masterclass, which is to prevent harm and to accrue benefit. Dar'ul mafasid wa jalbul masalih. It's important to be mindful of mutual respect and dignity, those ultimate aims, specific aims of Islamic law. To do this, you have to be in a state of readiness and openness. Readiness to listen with your ears, which is what most of us do. We listen to the words. But we also listen with our eyes. We observe the body language, the facial expressions, the gestures. And we listen with our hearts to try and feel, what is this person feeling? What is this person saying? And what are they not saying? And what does their choice to not say this tell us? Listen with your conscience, not your ego. Your conscience allows you to accept when you've done wrong. Your conscience allows you to grow, to be humble enough to say, oh, I didn't know that, now I know. When you listen with your ego, you're just looking to be right, to be perfect, to be okay, at the expense very often of the other person. Start it now. We might be talking about the person you want to marry, or you may not even have somebody in mind. But if it's a habit you build now, then it's a habit that inshallah you will carry with you forward into the future. If you have someone that you are already considering marrying, then be ready to have that conversation, the communication that is open, that's candid, that's frank, that focuses on the stuff that is important, which we've talked about before. The best kind of communication is one which allows co-creation of meaning, where that channel, that bridge is open and ideas go back and forth, where there's a giving and a receiving of our feelings, our positions, and the thoughts in our heads. It's characterized by mutual respect, by curiosity and humility. It therefore results in us being able to truly express what we think, what we would rather have, what we would rather avoid. It allows us to have a serve and return kind of conversation. And it allows us to be clear about our intentions when we speak. This happens when there is a hifdul id and hifdul akal paradigm in operation. Hifdul id is where you are aspiring, you are committed to ensuring that you preserve dignity of yourself and of the other person. Hifdul akal is where you are sure, you are invested in making sure that your thinking, your mental state, your ideas, your perceptions are treated well, and that the same is true for the other person. Not everyone communicates in the same way. We may all have good intentions, may all mean well. You and this other person may truly be working towards getting married, but your communication styles may be different. It's therefore a necessary part of your learning that you become cognizant with the different communication styles that people adopt. There are people who have spent time studying communication styles, and some have come up with 4 communication styles, some with 5, some with 7, some with 3. Today we'll look at 5 communication styles. As I talk about them, turn the searchlight on yourself, scan yourself, and say, which of these sounds like me? Which of these traits do I have? The first communication style I'll touch on is passive communication style. This is where the person's behavior during communication is mostly indifferent, where the person yields to others. The person is not quick or very willing or open to expressing his or her own feelings or needs, but will allow others to do so. The person doesn't resist, doesn't oppose, generally just lets things happen. It can lead to misunderstanding and to a build-up of anger and resentment sometimes, which then translates into another communication style, passive-aggressive. The person who uses this communication style is usually easy to get along with because they are not going to argue with you about anything. They are not going to go into a conflict situation with you. So sometimes you say this person is so easygoing, so laid back. What you need to be mindful of is that the person doesn't become passive-aggressive when resentment builds up. Passive-aggressive is where the person appears passive, but is subtly, quietly, secretly acting out of pent-up frustration or resentment or anger. So the person would rather sabotage you, go against your wishes, depart from an agreement you've both had, or go around and talk to other people about their challenges, their complaints, their issues with you or with, a particular matter, rather than talk to you directly. The person might even say to you, no, there's no problem. No, not at all. I'm not upset. Oh, no, it's fine. Whereas it's not fine. The passive-aggressive person might seem cooperative, but really isn't. The third kind of communication style I would like to talk about is the aggressive style. I think the term speaks for itself. The person is aggressive, loud, demanding, insists on having his or her own way, tends to feel that their way is better and it's the only way. And if they don't get their way, then nothing else will work. This style is the style where you adopt a controlling kind of approach, where you might move people and control them by intimidating them, criticizing them, or blaming them, or using threats and attacks. With this style, you use a lot of power, personal power, or position or authority. An aggressive style can often be found among people who are leading because many people believe to be a leader you have to be, aggressive, use a lot of power, and you might command respect from those around you. However, it has its challenges because it does not establish certain kinds of trusting relationships. It sometimes forces others into passive mode or passive-aggressive kinds of behavior. There are times indeed when the aggressive style would be a better option when it's used for a very limited time. This is usually where there is a lot at stake, that if you were to allow others to have their way, they would move you in the wrong direction. The aggressive style works when you're talking about very clear cases of something that is very wrong versus something that is very right, where you're talking about haram and fard, for instance. The fourth style we want to talk about is the assertive style. It's considered the most effective because it's communication that's open but not overbearing. It doesn't have aggression in it, but it does have directness, where you express your needs, your desires, your ideas, your feelings openly and clearly. You express your intentions, you are upfront about these things. At the same time, you're also considering the needs, the opinions, the intentions of others. With the assertive style, you find balance between your rights and the rights of others. The assertive style matches that hifdhul aid paradigm we talked about. When you use this style, your aim is for both sides to win in a situation. It's about bringing together what everybody needs to have done or to have happen, and then look for the best for everyone. One way you would know that someone is being assertive is using this style, or that you can learn how to use it, is to use a lot of I statements where you are taking responsibility for your feelings and your decisions. For instance, if someone speaks to you in a manner that's disrespectful or dismissive, you are planning to marry this person, you are having some conversations about how certain things should be done, you then express your opinion and the person speaks to you dismissively. You would say something like, I don't like the way you just spoke to me, it makes me feel that. Or you could say, I always feel tired when I have to explain this thing again and again and again. In this case, you're not saying it's your fault, you're saying this is where I'm coming from, this is how I feel, this is how I think or operate. Another style to talk about is the submissive style. The submissive style is somehow similar to the passive style, but there's a key difference. In the submissive style, the person actually believes that others are more important than they are, that the view of others matter more than their view, that others' opinions are more intelligent, more valid than theirs. So they will avoid conflict at all costs because they do not feel that they matter. This style makes the person apologetic, finds it difficult to take responsibility or to make decisions, would often yield to someone else's preferences. It's not just being polite, but the person is really coming from a place of, my rights don't matter that much, I don't have needs that matter as much, and the person just ends up feeling like a victim. Another style, which like the aggressive style is very unhealthy, even more so I dare say than the aggressive style, which is the manipulative style. It has an element of deceit in it. What this person is focusing on, just as in the aggressive style, is what the person wants. In this style, the person will therefore do whatever it takes to gain a personal advantage. The person usually doesn't put their intentions up front, but there's always an underlying motive when they are speaking. They call it manipulative because they try to manipulate you into a position. They try to influence you to their own advantage without making it obvious. They try not to make it obvious. When people realize that someone has a manipulative style or a tendency to use that style, it puts a big strain on the relationship because then people never know where they stand with this person. You are listening to these and probably thinking, so where do I stand? And I would like to pose that question too. Which of these styles do you use more often? Which of these styles do you think apply to you more? We may use one style in one context, another style in another context. Sometimes if actually being assertive is going to cause more problems than you can handle at that time, you might choose to be passive. If you find that someone is being passive-aggressive, you might then make sure you are more assertive. If you find someone is being very submissive, you might choose therefore to be passive so as to give them the chance to assert themselves. Hone these skills as you communicate, as you talk through many important issues with the person you hope to marry. Practice and build these skills as you search for a spouse, because having these skills make you a great journey partner, a great study partner in this school of life. The more you interact, the more likely conflict will arise. And problem solving and conflict resolution, in marriage in particular, are enhanced when your communication skills are at a good level.